We're all set for a record attendance here today, with queues at the turnstiles as early as 2:15. But before the match, we asked some of the supporters how they thought today's result would go.
I think it'll be tight on recent forms. Kettering started really badly at the beginning of the season and come on a bit now. And Diamonds, of course, last week against Gateshead.
They need to win this to stay in the title.
I think it'll go to the Poppies. I think 2-1 victory.
Yeah, I think Kettering on a good run of form, and I think Diamonds got a few injuries today, so I think they're in a good mood to beat Diamonds today. Yeah.
I think it'll be a tight game, but I think Diamonds was just about to clinch. It might be about 1-0 to Diamonds, I think.
Yeah, I think we're going to win it today. We haven't beaten Diamonds in the conference yet, and it's probably our best chance out of all the games. So narrow victory. Yeah.
Well, after watching last week, so I think they'll do well to get a draw out of it. Yeah. Honestly, if they play like they did last week. If they fired up though, I think 2-1 away win.
Right, we'll win about 2-1. Yeah.
And what about a prediction for the score today?
I'll go 3-1 Diamonds.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think we're going to make it 2-1 probably.
I should say about 3-1. I think Kettering are a pretty good team. Not as good as Diamonds though, but we'll win it easy.
I think it'll be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah. Who will score for the Diamonds?
Collins. Darren Collins, I think, but I hope Adrian Foster does, just to get back in form again.
Yeah.
Darren Collins with 2 and West with 1.
This is a big game for us, so it's Derby, so I think they'll be up for it. And Darren Collins definitely score.
And to score for the Poppies, who do you reckon?
Pearson, Van Dulleman.
Yeah, I'll go for the same too. I think Van Dulleman's been a key figure for them, and Pearson's just scored a great goal at Woking, so I think those two will be on the score sheet today.
Chris Pearson probably is best bet. He's buzzing around quite nicely at the moment. And if we get a free kick and Craig Norman's playing, he's very dangerous, so it could be a set piece goal as well.
Pearson, and if Wilkes is on, probably Wilkes.
So that's what the supporters think, but for full team news and match commentary, it's over to Andrew Bodfish.
Absolutely everyone here at Rockingham Road is looking forward to a crackling match this afternoon, because as with every sort of local derby, there's so much more at stake. You may remember after the first game back at Nen Park in November that Kettering had all the chances in that one but still didn't manage to beat the Diamonds. Rushden managed to run out 1-0 winners on that occasion, so if there's any sort of poetic justice in football, Kettering should get their just rewards today, as the Diamonds get a pretty frosty response from the capacity crowd here at Rockingham Road, who, let's be honest, must be pretty confident of a Kettering victory this afternoon. Steve Berry has named the same team as the one that won 1-0 at Woking last Saturday, and Kettering have actually only lost 2 of their last 11 and come into this game having won 3 on the trot, including the game on Tuesday night, which saw them run out 7-1 winners against Long Buckby in the semi-final of the Hillier Cup. Now, looking at the Diamonds team, Gary Butterworth's leg injury at Gateshead last weekend is likely to keep him out for some time, so a rejigged Diamonds midfield sees Capone and Cooper start and John Hampshire relegated to the bench. But Rushden coach Brian Talbot has been given a massive boost with the return to full fitness of number 9 Colin West, who injured his back in that memorable 4-0 victory over Halifax a couple of weeks ago and didn't actually train until yesterday. But Brian Talbot's happy with his progress, and he's come back to fitness just about in time to make the starting lineup for this one. Now, Chris White there, you may notice, is wearing the armband for the Diamonds. He, of course, deputises for Gary Butterworth, whilst the Poppies skipper this afternoon is Craig Norman, of course, who actually bagged the goal in that victory over Long Buckby in the week. He, of course, is the Poppies penalty kick king. Well, we can see there Chris Taylor, who's rushed over to that right-hand goal, and in fact that end is where the Diamonds away supporters are housed, and well, they are showing him just what sort of respect they've got for the Poppies keeper, certainly this afternoon. Well, the Diamonds will kick off shooting from left to right, and this local derby is underway. That's Crammon forward towards Collins, and Mison gets his first touch in midfield, back to Kenny Crammon. But in the short space of time these two teams have been competing in conference football, Kettering have yet to secure a victory against the Diamonds. And on the 2 occasions that these teams met last season, the Diamonds ran out winners on both occasions. They won 5-1 here actually about 11 months ago in a game which was one of Brian Talbot's first in charge actually at Nen Park, I seem to recall. And the game at Nen Park was also won 1-0 as it was this season by the Diamonds. Well, that was Carl Adams hooking in an early corner for the Poppies. Carl Adams, an inspirational midfield character whose probing runs and piercing passes have been providing the service for the likes of Chris Pearson in recent weeks. Pearson, of course, who's, that was Darren Bradshaw applying a fairly hefty challenge on Chris Pearson there. And this might be an early yellow card actually for the Diamonds midfielder, and it looks like it will be. The referee this afternoon is Mr. French of Wolverhampton, who we've seen before on Match of the Week this season. Number 7 is Sanderman, and he's going to launch that in towards Pearson, who was looking for the touch on. Well, the Diamonds were able to clear there. This is, that was Ridgway knocking the ball forward. That's Van Dulleman inside towards Wouden. Well, that was Capone and David Moore challenging in midfield then. The Poppies defender won it. That was Mutchell hooking the ball in. Well, a loose ball really there from Costello. Although, it was into the path of Paul Underwood, who was duly fouled. And, this might be another yellow card. So this fiercely contested local derby living up to all the physical expectations, because we've had 2 yellow cards in the first 5 minutes. Firstly, Bradshaw for Rushden, and now Ian Ridgway for Kettering. Free kick was by Crammon. Well, that was Adams trying to turn and set things up in midfield then. That's Craig Norman playing the ball forward, one in the air by Bradshaw. Moore beat Mison to that challenge then. Well, indeed, Michael Mison went in a bit late there on David Moore, and the Kettering fans, leaving Mr. French in no doubt as to their appreciation of the decision, which I think will be to book Michael Mison. So that's the 3rd player to go into the book, and we've had 7 minutes. Craig Norman. Bradshaw winning another ball in the air for Rushden. That was Tucker. Kenny Crammon. Underwood getting a few boos from the Kettering fans, probably for that incident involving he and Ridgway, which saw the Kettering number 2 booked. This is Darren Bradshaw trying to move forward. Well, the ball was looking towards Colin West, but West did well there because he managed to win possession then and fed Paul Underwood, although Underwood's ball was cleared by Moore. That's Collins and Tucker challenging. West again. Crammon. It's going to come back inside, probably. Collins lost out then to David Moore. That's Chris Pearson. Well, Chris White was backing into him fairly heavily then, and that's going to be a really interesting duel this afternoon. Chris White and Chris Pearson. Of course, it was a fairly intriguing clash when these 2 teams met at Nem Park in November. And Pearson, you may recall, was guilty of missing the majority of those chances for the Poppies then, as Mison's got to be careful because he can't expect to get away with that sort of thing. Not with the way referees are being told to clamp down on that sort of behaviour. Norman with another free kick for the Poppies. One in the air again by Bradshaw, and he is such a strong character in the air, Darren Bradshaw. Even against the forwards he's up against this afternoon, who are not the tallest, Pearson and Costello, you expect Bradshaw to win most of those balls in the air. This is Peter Costello. Van Dulleman's inside him. Costello prefers to go outside and find Ian Ridgway, who is an overlapping fullback. Well, Underwood was challenging him, and this might well be the first corner of the game. Oh, well, that came back off Ridgway then, and Mark Smith had to be alert to turn that round the post. The first strike on goal, although Ridgway certainly didn't mean it. We can see it again here. Crammon's clearance actually ricocheted off Ian Ridgway, and Mark Smith, full marks to him. That's Carl Adams' corner. Well, that's a little bit more orthodox from Mark Smith. He claims comfortably. That was Mison and number 7 Sanderman challenging in midfield. Number 7 Sanderman, you may remember, a Northampton Town player some years ago. Kenny Crummon with his throw for Rushden. That was Mison challenging Craig Norman, although the Poppies have possession there with Chris Pearson, whose pace is going to be an important factor this afternoon. Bradshaw's clearance. Oh, and another ricochet nearly caused Rushden problems then. This time they managed to get the clearance in. I think it was Tim Wooding hooking the ball clear. Well, look at this, it was another ricochet, this time off Pearson, and Van Dulleman was sniffing around like an Alsatian, and Tim Wooding grateful to clear that. And indeed Wooding got the header in from that corner. This is Underwood trying to break now for Rushden, and they've actually got players forward here in this attack, the Diamonds. Capone's going to move outside here. Well, Underwood's pass was delivered a fraction too late, because Capone had strayed offside, and Chris Taylor will be able to take this free kick now for the Poppies. It's been an opening in which his goal hasn't really been threatened. Indeed, most of the action has been up at the Diamonds' end. Of course, those 2 ricochets causing Mark Smith the most problems out of the 2 keepers so far. We've had 15 minutes. Kettering 0, Rushden 0 in this local derby. That's Tim Wooding's throw-in for Rushden. Well, Norman and Mutchell were challenging Colin West then, who won the free kick. Wooding's ball in, looking towards Chris White, who was well forward then, but Kettering managed to get that clearance in. That's Crummon hooking the ball back into the mix. Well, that's Capone. Well, Craig Norman did enough then to divert that ball back to his keeper. They've looked pretty assured defensively so far, the Poppies, as Adams looks for Pearson there, who in turn takes on Kenny Crummon. Chris Pearson, that's well played by him. Van Dulleman. Well, the shot there coming in from Van Dulleman was hit instantly from Pearson's cross, and Mark Smith got behind that. Just look at this, Pearson's ball in was a low one, and Van Dulleman had peeled away from his marker then, who was Darren Bradshaw, and Mark Smith, had there been a little bit more pace on that ball, well, he might well have been picking the ball out of his net then. That's Capone. Well played by Julian Capone, skipping away from Carl Adams and Sanderman. But Ridgway was barging Capone then. The referee says, well, that's a free kick. Well, those Kettering fans not happy about that, but they will be happy about the way their team have started this game. They've certainly looked the more impressive of the 2 teams. Well, of course, everyone knows that this is a game when league positions count for nothing. Kettering, of course, are 6th from bottom, and Rushden, as we all know, are 3rd from top. So certainly a game when league positions count for nothing, as the challenge coming in late then was on Pearson, and a fairly theatrical dive from the Poppies striker. The free kick hasn't been awarded in his favour, but these local derby matches, well, they're almost the same as cup games. So much passion and fiercely contested rivalry goes into these fixtures, of course. No one can predict the outcome, as Adams tries to break forward now for Kettering and feeds a good ball through to Pearson, who I think was offside at the beginning of that attack, which was a shame because Pearson's penetrative run forward was a good one, and this diminutive little Poppies striker was had strayed a couple of yards off then. That was Craig Norman getting a header in to clear the danger for the Poppies. That's Mison spreading the ball out wide towards Kenny Crummon. Now the Diamonds have got options here. Crummon's ball in left-footed, and that's Mison! And that's 1-0 to Rushden. And Mison goes to receive the adulation from those Diamond supporters behind Chris Taylor's goal. Kettering 0, Rushden 1. Collins goes to congratulate his teammate, and a really good goal actually from the Diamonds, because Crummon's delivery in with his left foot was as exquisite as usual. And Mison leapt to nod that ball past Taylor. Well, Mison loves it. It's actually his first goal since October. And, well, just look at this. Kenny Crammond's ball in drifted through the ranks of the Poppies defence, and no one was marking Mison then. And he had an absolutely unchallenged header and managed to steer it past a statue like Chris Taylor. But first blood to Diamonds then in this local derby. What can Kettering do now to get back on terms? Well, Sandeman's trying to get back on terms immediately. Well, he doesn't win the corner then, although, well, those Poppies fans felt he should have done. Tim Wooding will take the goal kick for Rushden. Well, exactly what the Diamonds needed, as, well, initially it looked like Capone had elbowed number 3 Rob Mutchell then. But in fact the free kick was given in the Diamonds' favour. But exactly what the Diamonds need to get them back on track after that dodgy defeat last week at Gateshead, which I'm sure no one expected, as Mison... Oh, well, that was almost a second for the Diamonds. It was Underwood sliding in at the far post. Mison was breaking forward again and actually mishit that shot across the face of goal. Just look at this. Mison, the less said about the effort, the better. But it nearly set up Underwood then, and that wasn't far away. Well, the last thing Kettering need to do is concede another one. That's Capone, Bradshaw and Van Dulleman challenging in midfield then, and the free kick went Kettering's way then. This tall Dutch striker wearing number 10 this afternoon for the Poppies was impeded by Bradshaw and Capone then. Ray Van Dulleman, who is still on loan here at Rockingham Road from Northampton Town, where of course he hasn't managed to get much of a look in this season. Oh well, Pearson was looking for the scraps then, as Van Dulleman got that touch on from the free kick. But Ray Van Dulleman, another scorer in the midweek victory over Long Buckby, and he also got one at the end of December against league leaders Halifax Town here at Rockingham Road. But Van Dulleman's only got 2 goals here in his stay at Rockingham Road. That was West touch towards Capone, who lost out to Moore. Crammon. That was Michael Mison turning nicely and setting things back up for Crammon. This is Collins in a little bit of space on the edge of the area, and he's trying to go past Moore, but Ridgway intercepted, and nicely done there by Ian Ridgway. Crammon back towards Underwood. Oh, Ridgway got another challenge in. Well played by Ridgway. Up towards Van Dulleman. This is Carl Adams. What can Kettering do here? Well, the answer's nothing. This is Chris White. That was Wooding towards Capone. Craig Norman getting the clearance in for the Poppies then. Wooding will take this throw in for Rushden. And this afternoon's attendance, 4,016, which I'm sure you'll agree is an excellent figure for a conference game. Oh, well, Collins managed to leap unchallenged then. Well, the body language of Taylor suggested there was nothing to worry about, but there certainly was, because Collins leapt then from Wooding's ball in. And there was Mark Tucker was the defender with him. He certainly didn't challenge Collins. And had that header been a little bit better directed from the Diamonds number 10, and that would have been 2. Well, and a huge free kick from Wooding then was threatening to get Colin West through. But the linesman on this near side, Mr. Ferguson, raised his flag, and for that little bit of petulance then, Colin West is going to be the 4th player to go into the book this afternoon, because West kicked that ball away in frustration, disgust, whatever you want to call it. And Mr. French adds another name to his list. Taylor will take this free kick for the Poppies. And as we approach half time, it remains Kettering 0, Rushden and Diamonds 1. So the Diamonds still with the edge in this local derby, as another offside decision goes in Kettering's favour. But it's certainly too early to write Kettering off because, well, looking down their results of late, their form resembles the form of a team more than a few places higher up the conference table because, well, their 1-0 victory as Pearson's bundled over there by Darren Bradshaw. Because their 1-0 victory at Woking last Saturday was, well, certainly a result that I don't think anybody expected and certainly sent more than a few shockwaves round the conference. As Sandyman will take this free kick for the Poppies. It's far post and Chris White's header. Well, in fact, it was Mison getting the intercepting header over on that far side. Going to be a corner to Kettering. And Smith with a good punch out then from Carl Adams' corner. That was Costello trying to lay the ball back in. That's Van Dulleman back to Ridgway, whose ball in, well, travelled all the way through to Mark Smith. And Kettering, neither Van Dulleman nor Pearson then could get a touch on that ball. This is Rob Mutchell. Pearson caught offside then. And of course 2 weeks ago Kettering beat Gateshead here at Rockingham Road by 3-0 as Collins breaks forward for the Diamonds now. West is in support but Collins hasn't seen him. And the ball in, well, was forcing Craig Norman into the interception. But yeah, that Gateshead game was just 7 days before Rushden went to the North East and of course lost that game 2-1 last week. So, Capone will loft this ball in now for Rushden, and it's going to come all the way towards the far side to Tim Wooding, whose ball in is collected easily by Taylor. But those two results certainly tell you what a strange old game football is, because no one expected the Diamonds to go up to Gateshead and lose, which of course that win for Gateshead was only the North East club's third of the season. But the Diamonds are certainly on the right road to getting their season back on track after that blip, as Pearson goes scampering away for the Poppies then and gets to the ball before Bradshaw then, who's going to be upset about that decision by Mr. French. And Darren Bradshaw, would you believe it, is going to become the 5th Diamonds player to go into the book this afternoon. Well, Pearson's pace is always such a problem, and he was threatening to get away from Bradshaw then. Well, no doubt about that, Pearson was certainly looking for the foul. But the Diamonds defender will go into the book. And a reasonably good chance for the Poppies to draw level here. We've only got about 6 minutes to go before half time. Free kick in a dangerous position from the Diamonds' point of view. It's going to be Sanderman to take it. Looking towards the far post. And Van Dulleman was leaping there. So was Chris White and Mison, I think. Well, Sanderman's ball then drifted all the way out of play. And that was another decent opportunity for the Poppies to create something then, because you don't often get those sort of free kicks in those dangerous looking positions. But their final delivery hasn't really been up to scratch this afternoon so far, but there's plenty of time in which that could change. That's Crammon and Pearson. Well played by Kenny Crammon. Helped out by Paul Underwood over on that far side. That was Cooper winning that ball in the air. Capone's in there as well. That free kick throw-in goes the Diamonds' way. Much to the resentment of those passionate Poppies fans over on that far side. Certainly I can't remember a day when we've had such a packed stadium here at Rockingham Road. The place is positively bursting at the seams. This is Sanderman. Rob Mutchell. He's been allowed to move forward fairly unchallenged then, Rob Mutchell, but his ball then, which I think was looking for Pearson, who was trying to peel away over on that far side, was nowhere near him as Paul Underwood nearly gets in a mess there, and that's Van Dulleman. Oh well, another wasted opportunity really for the Poppies. In fact, it was Costello who played the ball back into the danger zone. That's Crammon. Chris Taylor and David Moore cleared things up for the Poppies then. That was Van Dulleman going in harshly on Crammon. Bright sunshine here at Rockingham Road this afternoon. Oh, Cooper with a decent effort from distance, and that wasn't far away. Well, Mark Cooper, we haven't seen a lot of him actually so far in this game, but that was certainly a fine effort. Plenty of power behind that, and certainly only a few inches away from Chris Taylor's posts. That's Colin West peeling away, and we'll try and get the cross in with his right foot here. Tucker was the covering defender, and the Diamonds have a corner with only a few minutes to go before half-time. The Diamonds fans certainly in good voice. Their team are winning 1-0, of course. Well, Tucker with a decent clearing header then. That's Julian Capone trying to get the ball back in. More with a clearance for Kettering, and that's Pearson trying to turn. That's one of his strengths, actually. He's got such good close control and pace, of course, and he tries to set Van Dulleman away there. But Darren Bradshaw was the covering Diamonds defender, and the Poppies are pegged back again. That was Ridgway hooking the ball in. Well, Mark Smith with an authoritative catch then. Kenny Crammon. That ball looking for Collins over on that left-hand side, who was challenging David Moore with his shoulder. The Diamonds have the throw. Collins back to Crammon. Oh, good ball in by Crammon. Well, the Poppies' defence was already moving out then. It enabled Chris Taylor to make the catch, as Bradshaw allows that to come all the way back to Smith. 3 minutes to go before half-time. Remains Kettering 0, Rushden 1. Smith with a fairly hefty kick then, and that's touched on by Collins. Oh, well, there's a chance here for Paul Underwood, and that's 2-0 to Rushden. Well, the Diamonds have doubled their lead 3 minutes before half-time, and it's Paul Underwood. Well, the Diamonds players absolutely over the moon about that. Well, and so are those fans who are having a real party day here in Kettering. Capone goes to congratulate Paul Underwood. And well, we can see this again, such a Route 1 goal, because Smith's massive kick was touched on by Collins, and Underwood managed to get a foot to that just before Ridgway clipped him. And a really good finish by Paul Underwood has given Diamonds a 2-0 lead. So Paul Underwood, who got one against Halifax 2 weeks ago, and before that he scored in the Diamonds' victory up at Dover. So it's a good goal-scoring patch at the moment for the Diamonds midfielder. And he actually scored one with his head up at Gateshead, but that was disallowed. So Paul Underwood, with his 4th goal of the season, has doubled the Diamonds' money just before half-time. And well, those Kettering fans, the excitement and enthusiasm they must have felt before this match must be, well, ebbing away at the moment. Because, to be honest, they've been second best so far to this visiting Diamonds team, who've controlled most things and control the most important factor, and that is the scoreline, of course. 2-0 as Crammon lost that ball forward to Collins, but Taylor came out then and made a very important catch. This is Rob Mutchell. Now, can Kettering get one back before half-time? It'd be such a fillip if they could do so. David Moore. This is Tucker. Well, Pearson was challenging them, but to be honest, Kettering aren't going to find Pearson's head with those aerial balls into the box, because he's never going to beat the likes of Bradshaw, Chris White and Smith to those balls in the air, as Chris White took a knock then, I think, from Pearson. And Simon Parcel rushes on to give him some treatment, and Bradshaw's having a word with Mr. French. I think he thought that the referee should be having a sterner word with Pearson over that little infringement, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Run it off, as games teachers are well known for saying. That's Costello. Tucker. Nice play by the Poppies, that's more like it. This is Ridgway, being shadowed by Paul Underwood. Well, Ridgway's managed to gain possession then, despite the attentions of, well, firstly Underwood and then Cooper, but the ball's eventually lofted in by Tucker. That's Mison getting the challenge in. Moore. Well, still Kettering failed to manufacture a worthwhile effort on Mark Smith's goal. They've had a few sort of half chances in this first period, but they haven't really looked like scoring, to be honest. And the Diamonds, whilst only boasting a couple of chances, have managed to get themselves on the score sheet twice. That's Tucker lofting the ball forward. Chris White's clearance. That was Capone getting an important foot in there. That's Craig Norman and Collins challenging for that. Going to be a throw in to the Poppies, to be taken by Mitchell. Ooh, well, Collins went in late there on Mitchell. And it's going to be another Diamonds player to go into the book. Well, no doubt about that. Mitchell did take a whack on the shin then. And Collins, would you believe it, is going to be the 6th player to go into the book for the Diamonds this afternoon. We'll just look at that. Certainly late, and Collins can have no complaints about that. The yellow card for Collins, as Rob Mitchell gets treatment from the Poppies physio, Julie Frost. That's Sandyman with another right-footed delivery. Well, again, no trouble for Smith. And those free kicks in reasonable positions are genuinely being wasted by the Poppies. Sandyman's deliveries in general have been far too close to Mark Smith. Well, we've reached the halfway point in this Northants derby. Goals from Mison and Underwood are separating these two teams at the halfway point. Join us after the break for the second half. Kettering Town 0, Rushden Diamonds 2. Welcome back to Rockingham Road here, where Kettering are trailing Rushden by 2-0. And the Poppies need to do something fairly spectacular if they're to continue this really good run of form recently. As well, Collins tries to break free early on for Rushden in this second half, but that was cleared by Colin Vowden, who is a half-time substitute for number 8 Costello. Paul Underwood, scorer of the Diamond's second goal, with a decent prodded ball forward towards Collins. Well, good interception then by Vowden, snuffing out the threat of Darren Collins, whose goal up at Gateshead last weekend was his 4th in his last 3 games, as he tries to break through here and add to that tally, and it needed the combined challenges of Tucker and Taylor to deny him. But Darren Collins, well, the goals of Collins have certainly been absolutely instrumental in this magnificent run the Diamonds have put together to get to the top of the table. And equally at the other end, the goals of Poppies number 9 Chris Pearson have been, well, fundamental to their rise up the table. Certainly from, well, what I've seen of Kettering this season, they are too good a side to be down, lounging around in the bottom places of the conference. And you don't get victories like the one they put together up at Woking last weekend without having a side of some considerable quality. Kettering's performances recently, of course, achieved without the individual performance of their player manager Steve Berry, who chooses these days to watch the game from the sidelines. So I guess that is a luxury of sorts when he can afford to leave himself out of the Kettering lineup, as he has today. But I'm sure today's match hasn't been pleasurable viewing for him so far, because unless his team sort themselves out, they're going to be slipping to another home defeat. As Chris White was the player challenging Chris Pearson then. But despite their pretty terrible start to the season, it's strange how things turn around in football, as Chris White is yet another Diamonds player, the 7th, in actual fact, to be shown the yellow card by Mr. French today. But after their pretty awful start to the season, actually, the Poppies haven't actually lost here in a conference fixture since December the 13th, when Welling United came here and won 2-0. So their home record of late has been, well, really, really good, as Crummond's grateful to hook that ball clear for the Diamonds. That was Sandeman back towards Mutchell, whose improvised pass found Tucker neatly then. Well, Tucker simply gave that away to Tim Wooding, who moves forward with some purpose now for Diamonds, and he's found Darren Collins in some space inside the area. What can Collins do here? Oh, well, if Collins had looked up and managed to pick out Colin West then, the Diamonds would have been celebrating a third goal, I'm sure. But alarming holes in the Kettering defence again. Darren Collins was absolutely isolated when he latched onto Tim Wooding's ball then. This is Crammon. Oh, articulate play by the Diamonds then. That's Cooper managing to regain possession for the Diamonds, but Mison loses out there to Adams, whose ball forward was looking for Pearson, but Chris White, well, showing all his experience and expertise, I guess, then, to shield that away from Chris Pearson, as Collins finds himself offside. Taylor with another long free kick for Kettering, which Colin West has won there, but, well, all sorts of shenanigans on the deck there, because West was, well, on the ground when Colin Valm was challenging him. And, well, the decision's been given in favour of the Poppies, and, well, Mark Cooper, would you believe this, is going to be the 8th Diamonds player today to be yellow carded. But that free kick's been switched instantly to Ridgway, who's ball in. Oh, well, there's a chance there, and Kettering goes so close to pulling one back there. Well, I think in the end, I think Mr. French has given offside against the Kettering attack. Then Ridgway's ball in caused all manner of trouble in the Diamonds' defence. I think that was more. Well, in fact, it was Sandeman who won that, and Pearson and Tucker, well, in the end, got in each other's way then. Tucker, who finally connected with that and actually steered it wide. That's Mison getting a foot in. Ridgway. Vowden playing the ball forward, looking for Pearson. Oh, well played by Pearson. That ball stuck to his chest as if there was glue there. This is Pearson. Ridgway being shadowed by Underwood. Paul Underwood gets the challenge in. The Diamonds defending so doggedly this afternoon, they're having to at the moment, because Kettering are applying a fair bit of pressure, which they certainly need to do if they're going to claw back this 2-goal deficit. That's Ridgway's throw-in. Well, Tucker's flick over his shoulder was looking for Pearson then, but Chris White on 2 occasions then got the ball clear. Mison playing the ball forward. That was Cooper looking for Capone. This is Sandeman. Oh, Van Dulleman got the touch on then, but well, Carl Adams will win that throw-in for Kettering, which will be taken by Mutchell. Van Dulleman, this is Craig Norman. Well, didn't connect at all then, really, Craig Norman. In fact, he probably had time to bring that ball down on the edge of the box then, but off balance when he struck that effort. Probably indicative of... oh, well, an awful error there. And Colin West is racing away here, and he's going to walk this ball in. And Colin West, well, just look at that. Chris Taylor's clobbered West. And that might well overshadow this third goal. Indeed, Collins is having a pretty stern word with Mr. French. Colin West might well be in trouble for this. There's no doubt about it. He's given Rushden and Diamonds a 3-goal lead here at Rockingham Road this afternoon. Well, confidence, arrogance, call it what you like. West walked that ball in, and just look at that. Taylor, no nonsense, clatters into him. Well, the only question here is what colour this card's going to be. The Diamonds fans know what colour they want to see. West getting a bit of treatment from Simon Parcell inside that goal. And Chris Taylor lucky there to get away with a yellow card. I think those Kettering fans probably know it as well. Well, Colin West the goal scorer then, and he finally has time to celebrate that third goal. It's his first for a while for Rushden. Of course, he's been out injured lately. Of course, he damaged his back in that 4-0 victory over Halifax a couple of weeks ago, but that's Colin West's first goal for Rushden since Boxing Day, when he netted in the 2-0 victory over Stevenage at Nen Park. And he's almost certainly put the game beyond Kettering Town's reach here at Rockingham Road this afternoon. And it looks for a third time in a row that the Diamonds will be taking all the honours in the this local derby. Tucker will take this free kick for Kettering. He was one of the defenders absolutely nowhere when West trotted through to get that third goal. And here he is chasing the ball again. Fowden won that in the air, and well, Tucker tied it up then by knocking the ball back to Taylor. That's Crammond launching the ball forward again, looking for West. Mark Tucker's clearance. Kenny Crammond, who's been an impressive character for the Diamonds actually this afternoon. He's such a reliable, solid customer for the Diamonds when he plays on that left flank. The quality of his delivery is always good as it was there. Oh well, just over. Well, Diamonds fans at the other end of the ground thought that was in. But just a fraction over the bar then. Look at this, we've been talking about Crammond's delivery, and that was another fine effort from Crammond. Launching the ball in left-footed, and Julian Capone over on the far post with a looping header. Taylor was beaten, and that's just dipped over. Well, I think the referee thought that Taylor got a touch onto Capone's header then. That was Cooper was striking the ball then, and it came off Mison. Looking for his second goal, of course, this afternoon, Michael Mison. Unfortunately for the Poppies, that ricocheted straight into the arms of Taylor as West goes through now and looks for a fourth for Rushden, and he might well get it here, Colin West. Oh well, we won't want to see that again. Is that a touch of complacency in the Diamonds play? Colin West has just missed an open goal for Rushden. Well, the Diamonds fans probably won't mind because they're already 3 up. But a fourth one there would have been rubbing the salt into Kettering's wounds. Well, Pearson, with a spring in his step now, is trying to get something back for the Poppies. Taking on Tim Wooding and beats him comfortably. Oh, well, another yard back, and that would have been into the path of Van Dulleman. But Mark Smith has intercepted that. That's more back to Taylor. Oh, well. Excellent play from Taylor. Cavalier approach. That's Ridgway. Trying to take on Tim Wooding. Oh well, lofted ball in from, actually it was Rob Mutchell, and well, with each of those attempted crosses that flies over Mark Smith's crossbar, you get the impression that Kettering Town aren't going to get anything out of this game. The quality of attacking that we've seen from them in recent weeks hasn't been there today. And at the moment, the Diamonds are taking this at walking pace. Kenny Crammond with a throw. Nice turn by Mark Tucker. What can he do here? And he can turn inside and find Sanderman. That's a little bit more like it from the Poppies. Although the Diamonds so quick at getting players behind the ball. That's Vowden. Ridgway's header on was towards Sanderman, and Brian Talbot's got a query. I think that was to do with the challenge by Vowden on Collins earlier in that attack. but Darren Collins is fine. Kenny Crammon with another throw in for Rushden. Ridgway. Now Pearson. Oh, well played by Pearson. He's certainly been the pick of the Poppies players this afternoon. Although trying to go through two Diamonds defenders there wasn't really on. Although he gets that back nicely from Ridgway. That crossing took a deflection off Chris White, and Rushden are able to clear. This is Craig Norman. Now Mitchell. Taking on Tim Wooding. Plenty in the box for the Poppies. If Mitchell could get his cross in, which it was turned behind for the corner by Tim Wooding. Some encouragement for Poppies fans here, although around us they're fast losing enthusiasm for this one. It's going to be a hard defeat to take, as Mark Smith took a knock there from the corner. Diamonds players are fairly concerned about him, although Chris White seems concerned only in getting the ball back. Well, Mark Smith's fine. I think it was a blow to his neck that he took as he tried to leap and claim that corner then. But the massed ranks of Diamonds supporters behind that goal, so happy with the experience this afternoon, as Steve Berry decides it's time to make a second change for the Poppies. The number 14 there is Tim Wilkes, and he has come on for Ian Ridgway. As the Poppies player manager certainly endeavours to try and salvage something from this one. Pearson cut offside, and Diamonds can build again from the back. Well, now it's Brian Talbot's turn to make a change. The player coming off will be Paul Underwood, scorer of the Diamonds' second goal, and replacing him will be Brendan Hackett. Hackett's last outing for the Diamonds was the defeat in the semi-final of the Northants Senior Cup against Raunds at Nen Park at the end of January. As Capone endeavours to get a third for the Diamonds there, and indeed he can laugh about it really, because the effort was always flying over. That was Chris White and Van Dulleman tussling, and Van Dulleman was fouling Cooper then. But you have to say, the Diamonds have not missed their influential skipper Gary Butterworth this afternoon. There were a lot of, I know for a fact that Diamonds fans behind that right-hand goal there were fairly concerned about the Butterworth's absence, because he is such a marauding and barnstorming character in that midfield for the Diamonds. But to be honest, they haven't really missed him at all today. Capone and Cooper have been doing a more than reasonable job in there, as Capone looks for the opportunity to cross now, and the Diamonds will have a corner from that attack. Corner conceded by Vowden. Tim Wooding will take. Collins was looking for that. Moore got the challenge in. This is Tim Wooding again. Header out then was by Tucker. That's Tim Wilkes. Back to Tucker. One in the air then by Capone. West touch on. Well, it will come back to Michael Mison here. The Diamonds seem to be picking up all those loose balls in the midfield. This is Pearson. Spreading the ball outside now to Sandyman, whose ball in was looking for Carl Adams. Oh, and a chance here for the Poppies. Well, sliding in then to divert the danger was Darren Bradshaw. But Kettering have a corner, and we have just over 12 minutes left. Well, Kettering still searching for a consolation at this late stage, I guess, but they won't get it, certainly with more deliveries like that from the corner. Well, Mison's gutted about giving away possession then for the Diamonds. It won't unduly worry Brian Talbot in the context of today's game. But if things stay like this, what with Cheltenham, who are a place above the Diamonds at the moment in the conference in second, not playing today, they're engaged in FA Trophy action, of course, today. The Diamonds will be moving up to second in the conference, would you believe? It would still leave them some points adrift of league leaders Halifax, of course. Oh well, Collins nearly got the break then, and he might still, but Tucker cleared the danger for the Poppies then. But as it stands, the Diamonds will be going second tonight. Oh, nice ball through there to Adams. What can Pearson do here? Good chance for Kettering. Oh, Mark Smith saves. Well, things just aren't going right for the Poppies today. Chris Pearson was scampering through there like an absolute greyhound. Look at this. He had a decent sight of goal at that point, but Mark Smith, well, shut down the angle well, a la Schmeichel. And Darren Bradshaw was helping out as well in defence then. That was Hackett and Capone trying to move things forward for the Diamonds. That's Tucker. Back to Taylor. Brendan Hackett. This is Mison. Oh, nice ball by Mison into the path of Collins. What can he do here? Darren Collins. Oh, good save by Chris Taylor. Nearly a fourth for Rushden. And frankly, that sort of move illustrates the difference between these two teams this afternoon, because whenever they move forward, Rushden, there's always a ball into the box and there's nearly always a strike on goal. They've taken over the role of counter-attackers this afternoon, the Diamonds. And really for them, it's been a day when pretty much everything has gone right. That's Chris Taylor on the far side being challenged by Tim Wooding. That was Mutchell driving the ball in. Oh, and Craig Norman might get a shot in here. Well, like so many of their efforts this afternoon, that one didn't cause Mark Smith undue danger. Kenny Crammond's clearance. Straight to Bradley Sanderman. Pop is still endeavouring to move forward. Oh, given away carelessly then. This is Darren Collins. Oh, well in by Mark Tucker. Diamonds have a throw. That's Brendan Hackett. Collins moving diagonally across the box then. Hackett didn't spot him. Well, this is Van Dulleman, and he might have an opportunity for a strike on goal here. Well, that's certainly more like it from the Poppies. Fine effort from Van Dulleman, and Mark Smith with a good fingertip save to touch that over. Look at this, it was bouncing when Van Dulleman took that on the half volley. Good effort, and Mark Smith with a leaping save. That's Carl Adams' corner. Mark Smith catches. He's done well this afternoon, Mark Smith. Hasn't had a great deal to contend with, but what he has come up against, he's dealt with more than comfortably. This is Colin Vowden for the Poppies. Well, that ball ran away then from Van Dulleman. This is Michael Mison. Nice ball by Mison, switching the play into the path of Brendan Hackett here for Diamonds. Oh, trying to take on Tucker, but well played by Tucker. Read the situation perfectly. Tucker again. Now Crammond. Oh, looking to release Collins then, and Darren Collins is onside here. Well, West sprinting up to join him. Well, Darren Collins wants to go it alone. Collins! Oh, well, it is going to be a fourth for Rushden. An extraordinary goal again has sealed the victory for the Diamonds this afternoon. It's Kettering 0, Rushden 4. And such a strange goal, because Collins tried to skip round Taylor then in the manner of Pele. Just look at this, Collins one-on-one with Taylor, pokes the ball one way, Collins goes round the other, and look at this for an effort. That's confidence for you. And well, Colin West, I was going to say he won't score an easier goal this season, but just look at his first goal. That was as easy as that one. So with 3 minutes left, Rushden have a fourth goal. And well, this is a significant moment actually for Diamonds fans, because 2-goal hero Colin West is coming off, and replacing him is Adrian Foster, who's been out of action for some time for the Diamonds. He made his comeback in last week's reversal up at Gateshead, and Brian Talbot's allowing him a little bit of a run out today with the victory already in the bag and another 3 points on the road to the push for promotion. And well, as you can see then, disgruntled Kettering fans in front of us are beginning to get up and leave early. This won't be an easy defeat to swallow for them, really. Well, no defeat is, of course, but a 4-0 reversal in a local derby. Well, I don't need to tell you about how much it will hurt these Poppies fans. Diamonds fans, of course, will buzz off this result for weeks to come. That's Norman helping the ball forward and looking for Pearson, who gets the better, actually, of Tim Wooding. Chris Pearson here. Oh, straight at the body of Smith. And Kettering denied even a consolation goal. Chris Pearson, when he looks thoroughly cheesed off. And I don't blame him. Mison hooks that ball clear for the Diamonds. That's David Moore. And we'll just look at Darren Collins. He's scampering around as if his life depends on it. Well, Tucker gives away possession in these late stages for Kettering. And I'm sure Kettering Town now will be so grateful to hear that final whistle. They've been soundly beaten here at Rockingham Road this afternoon as Hackett helps that forward and looks for the return ball from Capone. Brendan Hackett, well, crowded out then by Colin Bowden, and the last thing Kettering want is to concede a 5th goal. Diamonds fans cheering every touch of the ball now by a Rushden player. That's Kenny Crammon helping the ball forward. That was Foster, eager to impress, of course, on his recent return. Sandyman will take this throw. Well, Mr. French calls a halt to this one, and the end to another season of local derbies has ended with the Diamonds winning both in this 97-98 campaign, and they'll probably never beat Kettering Town more comprehensively than they have done today. Well, the Diamonds fans are celebrating here at the end of this match. They probably won't want to leave. They love this moment. Well, Michael Mison got things underway after 19 minutes. Paul Underwood got another one for the Diamonds before half-time, and then 2 second-half strikes by Colin West have put the icing on this victory cake for the Diamonds this afternoon. For Kettering Town, the struggle against relegation continues. For the Diamonds, their promotion push is back on course after last week's defeat.
I mean, last week at Gateshead was very disappointing for us, especially the run that we've been on. And to go to Gateshead, although we didn't play particularly badly, we gave some silly goals away. But today the lads were absolutely superb. We couldn't ask for any more than the result today.
That victory today was a lot more comfortable than I think a lot of people had anticipated, Billy. Why was that?
You tell me. I mean, we've watched Kettering quite a bit this season, and every time we saw them, they've been a hard-working side. And on current form, they've won 4, drawn 1, and lost 1. Current form, we've won 4 and lost 2. So they're no mugs, but today we just played exceptionally well, and right from Matt Smith right through to the lads up front, we were absolutely superb today.
Well, yeah, obviously disappointed. I mean, we built up a lot of expectations here, but we can't fool anybody. We haven't suddenly become Real Madrid. We've still got a lot of hard work to do to get out of trouble in the conference, and the significance of the game was disappointing the way we played. I didn't think we competed with them at all. They were very strong, and I thought they were by far the better side on the day. As much as it pains me to say it, but that's probably brought us back down to earth. We're not out of the woods yet as regards the relegation battle, and as I say, it's not totally unfeasible that we're going to get beaten by teams, because I say we haven't really come that far. We're certainly a much stronger side, and we're going to get ourselves out of trouble, but you've seen one of the top sides come here today and give us a thorough thrashing, and it does pain me to say it, but full credit to them, they deserved it. Yeah, the difference I thought was if you looked at both front lines, they took their chances, and we didn't take any of ours. I mean, football's all about scoring goals, and if you've got 2 players like they've got up front who can score, then it's always going to be, you're always in with a chance of winning games. They took the chance today, and full credit to them. It seems to have happened in the 3 or 4 games that we've played against them. We haven't taken opportunities. If you don't do that, you're not going to win games. As simple as that.
Stalybridge Celtic are the Diamonds' next opponents next weekend, of course. Another team struggling in the bottom reaches of the table.
Yeah.
And I guess you'll be looking on that as another opportunity to gain 3 more points in the push for that top spot.
Well, exactly. We've just heard that Halifax have won again, but which is a bit disappointing. But we can only sort of do our best. We're in a great position this year. We're better position than what we had planned at the start of the season. So we just keep plugging in, and we want to finish as high as we possibly can. And if we can play like we did today, I'm sure we'll be well up there.
I mean, at the end of the day, we've got a lot of the sides at the bottom to play yet, and it's totally in our hands taking the points off them and improving our league position. And I'm very confident we'll get out of trouble. I mean, you know, we're not the best side. We're certainly not the worst side in the league, that's for sure. Today is disappointing, but we'll live to fight again next week. And you know, come the end of the season, we'll be playing conference football. I'm confident about that. Disappointed today, but you've just got to take it on the chin and carry on with what we've been doing.